Hey everybody, it's Chris. This is another Lazy Checker Disc Golf review brought to you by the Hazy Shade in Dayton, Ohio. Thank you as always to them for their support in making these videos possible. Today we're looking at a fun mid-range from Pan Discs, another company out of Dayton, Ohio. This is going to be the Conspiracy. Now you probably can't see the stamp super well in there, but there are lots of conspiracy images in there, and almost everybody that I put in this disc into their hands has taken a second to just stare at it and try to find them all, which I think is super fun. After that, then they've gotten to throw it. Like I said, I put this in quite a few hands, and a lot of different variety of arm speeds, beginners and more experienced players, and almost everybody has come away smiling at the end. So what is it going to throw like? Well, this is an understable disc. Pan has it as a 5.5 -2.0, and I think that might be pretty accurate. That -2, maybe even a -3, and then that 0 could be a 0 or a 0.5, but I mean, I think 5.5 -2 gets the point across. It's very understable. How understable, you ask? Well, the only comparison disc in this video is going to be a Dynamic Discs Patrol. If you've ever thrown a Patrol, you know what I mean. It's a super understable disc. It is one where you can throw it high and expect it to just drift and hold that all the way down, or if you throw it too hard, it's going to turn over because it's a very unstable disc. In fact, it's listed as 5.5 -3.1. So I think that type of name or understability is definitely accurate. Now, with the Conspiracy, the wing is a little bit different. You're going to see that in the wing comparisons. Whereas the Patrol and a disc that I've been asked about, the Paradox, very similar to the Patrol, both feel in the hand and flight. Like, I've thrown them side by side and put them right next to each other numerous times. Have this bulky wing and then just this easy slope down. The Conspiracy has this domed wing and almost a flat spot with a bead on the bottom. So it's going to feel very different in the hand. They do not feel similar in the hand. That bead and that wing shape, very different. But the flights are so similar, and you're going to get to see that. Again, Patrol is the only comparison disc, so that's what you'll see it compared to, and you'll get to see a lot of good comparisons. Now, what can you expect? Like I said, I put this in a variety of hands, and I did a variety of shots. I tried some 150-foot holes, and I tried some big turnovers. Now, 150-foot holes, I was literally, on a couple of them, just doing standstill with like a half pull and kind of snapping my wrist like I would with an ultimate disc, and it would stay flat, or it would even hyzer out if I put some hyzer on it. So low power, very friendly beginner disc. As you speed up, it's going to want a hyzer flip, and then it's going to want a hyzer flip and turn, and then if you give it height, it's going to want to drift. This is a very controllable, understable disc. This is the type of disc that I used to refer to as jokingly as my forehand disc, because I didn't have a forehand game, where I would just throw the disc high and let it drift, and people are like, oh yeah, I see what you're talking about now. Conspiracy definitely fits that bill. So, great stamp, fun company, Pan Discs out of Dayton, Ohio, and great lines for throwing for beginners, all the way up to experienced players who need that long drifting mid-range drifting anhyzer. So if you have any questions or comments, please put them below so I can get back to you. Otherwise, enjoy the video. If you do, feel free to like it, share it, or subscribe to the channel. And as always, thanks for watching. See you later. Let's start with the wing comparison. Here you can see that dome I was talking about in the Conspiracy and the bead on the bottom. So it's going to have a different feel than the Patrol or the Paradox, but flight-wise, you'll get a feel for it real quick. Out in the field, with a tight tailwind kind of pushing left to right, you can see 60%, it just hangs it up in the air and lets it drift out to 250. Here a little bit harder, again on that severe angle of release, stands up to flat, the tailwind keeps pushing it forward to about 290. This is an estimate, of course. This throw was supposed to be just spike hyzer. You can see it flips up almost immediately. It actually flattens out when it goes out of view, and then it comes down on that line to about 270. This is where it gets fun, though, tilting it just a little bit with that push wind, and you can just watch the disc drift. And this is what I think where this disc really excels for me. Now this one, I did freezing on purpose. You can see the angle of release. This was a hard throw. It's going to flip up, turn all the way over, and keep drifting. What I loved about this is that it was still pushing forward, so it landed about 330 feet away before it skidded. Now out of the woods, this is a 150-foot pin. It's hard to see up there, but it's really close where that disc landed, and this gives you an idea of how a new player or a slow arm is going to throw this disc. You can see these are basically standstill shots. Yeah, they're going to fade out. That's because I'm putting not much power on them and some angle control as well. Here's height with the Conspiracy and the Patrol. You can see both of these discs, very understable discs. This is mimicking a slower arm, are going to be able to fade back to target, making this a pretty accessible disc for a beginning thrower. Here we're going to power it up a little bit more. I want to say this is like a 230 or 240 hole now. You can see the Conspiracy has a higher line than the Patrol, and I apologize, just the levels of light on these 2 days. You're not going to be able to see the full flight, but the Patrol is going to stay in that lower line and drift right, whereas the Conspiracy gets up a little higher, but still manages to make it almost to the same landing zone. Now, this was like the type of shot I wanted to show with the Conspiracy. Up in the air, drifting right. This is my backhand / forehand disc. Of course, that was the prototypical example. When I was doing comparisons, I, of course, didn't put quite enough power on it, and you can see both of these are going to fade out at the end. You will get to see here, and on the next one, the Patrol has just a tiny bit more fade than the Conspiracy, I believe. It's pretty close. These ones are both going to hit the leaves. But you can see like the Conspiracy on this flight is going to keep going right all the way to the ground, whereas the Patrol, just before it hits the ground, flattens out. Very minimal difference, especially when you're controlling the angle, but does seem to be a little bit of difference. Here, this is a hole I know well. The Patrol tracks right. It's actually going to appear in these woods on the right side, just briefly. If you don't see it, don't worry. But it is a straight line and then a drift right. And both discs, this is where the Conspiracy was, and this is where the Patrol was, which made it even farther right, ended up in a really good spot. To recap, the Conspiracy is a truly understable 5-speed mid-range, making it accessible to new players as a neutral mid, or more experienced or bigger arms as an understable or even roller mid-range disc as well. If you head over to hazyshade.com, they can meet all your Conspiracy needs. Use the code TEAMHAZYCHRIS for 5% off your order. Check out this new live version of my profile picture, and of course, as always, thanks for watching.